Following the governor's budget address, the lawmakers and others offered their reactions to the governor's budget. Now we'll hear their comments.
I don't know. You guys got a major problem right here in the General Assembly. He always has a problem with the electorate, the voters. The polling indicates that man's in big trouble. But I'd say he's got a huge problem right here in Springfield in the General Assembly. Just by that simple little lack of respect, almost, is what I would call it, by the members of the General Assembly when he walked in the room.
What about his tone? He didn't seem to have a whipping boy this time, did he?
Did not have. We expected it. We expected it to be us. I would assume you all went to the briefing, and he talks about how the General Assembly passed this budget that's created these problems. But of course, he manages the budget. He's the one who could veto the budget and veto whatever's in it. So, you know, I expected us to be the whipping boy. It didn't happen. Very short speech. Didn't have not much substance to it.
Do you think gaming expansion is still alive, even though he wants to sell or lease the lottery?
Oh, I just can't imagine that the lottery would be a realistic solution here. Obviously, I was very pleased that he continues to talk about capital. I think that's important for the state as a whole, and infrastructure is important, roads and bridges and school construction, universities, state facilities, all that's very important. I'm glad to see him talking about it. But I think the fact that we're going to sell the lottery, to do that on a one-time basis and then lose that $650 million for forever, I don't think it hasn't got much support in the past, and I doubt if it'll get much support going forward.
They said is still alive? Expansion is still alive?
I would think that it is. I mean, I don't know why that it would be considered. We have the 10th license that's out there. That's obviously some revenue that could be utilized for a capital bill. Further expansion is always a possibility. We did pass it last year, and I think it still would be considered to be on the table.
They said on the lottery.
Is there any way you could pass a lottery bill? Asset divestitures seem to be popular elsewhere among other governments where perhaps there's more trust. Is there any way you can structure something that would involve that here?
I think that the tone has been set by just the response last year when the governor wanted to lease it. This is now a sale and one-time revenue, and then the balance of the money is to go into some sort of account on the side. And there was so much unsaid about this budget, and if you went to the briefing today and realized that there's more to this than obviously what was said, there's a lot of unanswered questions.
A lot of these ideas have come before, not just leasing the lottery, and they didn't work before. Is there something different about this year that they may work?
I think everybody recognizes the fact, and those of us that are elected certainly should, that we're not paying our bills. Medicaid providers out there the delay of payment is just totally outrageous. I understand it's up around 150 days. People that work for the state, contractors that work for the state, aren't getting paid. I think most people will recognize this is not the time to be starting new programs, whether it's tax credits, tax relief, or whatever it might be. We don't have the money to pay for what we've got, and until we get the fiscal house of this state in order, I think we have to just hold it down, and I believe that's going to be the tone of this.
So you think the Republicans will not support either the tax credit or the business tax credit?
Well, I think everybody recognizes that if anybody deserves a tax credit, it's families, and certainly when you talk about giving a tax credit for children, I think that's very appropriate. Can we afford it? Can we pay for it? And I think the answer to that right now is no. If you just ask the people that are doing the work for the state, and we're balancing the budget, truly balancing the budget on the backs of the people who provide Medicaid coverage for the people of the state, doctors and nursing homes, hospitals, drugstores, dentists, all these people that provide this, we're asking them right now to balance the budget on their backs. I'd say our fiscal house is not in order. We shouldn't be starting new programs, whether it's credits or tax relief or whatever it might be, or new spending.
They say they want to do that through some of the tobacco money and, sell over long term.
How many times can we spend the tobacco money? I mean, really, it's being allocated now to certain programs, medicine for seniors. There's other allocations that are already present. Now we're going to take that out and use this revenue stream for something else. I want to see the details. That's one thing. I want to see the details, and I think our caucus is very interested.
How about another POB?
Well, if there ever is a time to do it, it's now when interest rate. That's the only reason we're talking about it. Obviously, the governor's talking about it. But when you talk about the debt of this state, and we've gone from $9 billion when this administration took office, $9 billion. Now we're roughly $22 billion right now, and they want to add another $16 billion to take it to $38 billion. And leave that for another generation, another governor. Somebody else is going to have to pay the bill. I don't think that's good, sound fiscal public policy.
Or is that you're leaving it open?
Well, I'm willing to work and talk about whatever. I mean, just because we want to be part of the process. We don't want to just shut the door on everything. But we want to be realistic about the problems of this state, and we want to work with the governor to try to solve them.
What about that temporary tax cut for business at 20%? Does that fall in with the family stuff?
We're all about trying to create a climate in this state that's conducive for job growth and job creation, we being the Senate Republicans. We believe in that. We believe in the philosophy that when you enable businesses to do well, then they prosper, and that helps people. That provides work and job opportunities. I don't know that this tax credit is the answer. Can we afford it? It goes back to that again. I think, can we afford it? Probably not. Should we be talking about it? Probably not. I think we just need to get our fiscal house in order, and that's what, to me, that's the main focus of this whole budget process.
Senator, can we have the capital budget? There's two things that are holding up the capital budget, as I've been hearing from other members. One is there's no dedicated revenue stream to pay the bonds. The second is members don't trust the governor to spend it fairly. Would you address both those issues?
Well, the revenue stream by which to fund bonds for a capital program could be the 10th license. That's out there. There's a possibility that some bonds could be utilized with that revenue stream. Do we trust the governor? I think there's a track record out there of people who have been obviously told certain things that would happen that don't. I think there's a real concern about trust in this administration. There has been since first year of the administration, and I think it still is there. That's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And it's just not Republicans. I mean, you go across the aisle and talk to anyone about it, and they'll tell you that the trust is a huge factor.
What do you make of 3% cuts at the agencies? Does that seem appropriate?
Well, I think that anything that you can do to cut spending needs to be looked at, and across-the-board cuts are something that obviously we ought to look at.
The unspecified closings of state facilities, I've heard there's already one prison on it.
Have you heard anything about that?
No. Once again, we just got the budget this morning. Our staff's going through it probably as we speak here to find out exactly where the money's being spent, where it's being allocated. We don't really know yet. And I think
You know of any other closures?
What do you make of the governor trying to hold himself out as a big tax cutter, particularly on the business side, at the same time he's got all these other increases on business?
Well, he's tried every approach. This is a different one, obviously. He seems to want to appeal to everybody. It hasn't worked. And I think most people recognize that this was a fluff speech again. Didn't really get much detail from what he said. And I think his polling numbers and I think the attitude of the members of the General Assembly indicate the fact that this administration is having some problems.